Thanks for coming. A couple quick comments about last week's win. I'm very pleased. Obviously, we're representing the Big Ten in the championship game. Great tribute to our players to do that, but that's all put aside for the rivalry week and have a lot of work to do. So last week's champions on offense were Taylor Deckers playing a very high level, Pat Elflein in the offensive line, those two did. Wide receiver, you had three of them, Evan Spencer, Devin Smith, and Corey Smith. Corey Smith also started on 4 special teams for the first time in his career. Player of the game was Ezekiel Elliott, and obviously Jalen Marshall had a heck of a day. Those were the players of the game. On defense, champions were Von Bell, Josh Perry, Joey Bosa, Adolphus Washington, and Raekwon McMillan. And Michael Bennett's last 2 weeks, and he's been outstanding, so he was the defensive player of the game, Mike Bennett. Special teams player of the week was also Jalen Marshall at 19 production points, changed the game with that punt return. So we put that one to bed rather quickly as we do this rivalry game, and that was all focus and attention went to that, to this game, obviously. So I'll answer any questions for you.
Front row left, Rusty.
Urban, you kind of got steeped in this rivalry. You knew about it obviously growing up in Ohio, but when you were here in '86 and '87 from Earl and being on staff, what did you learn that during that period that really impressed you on the fact of how much different this rivalry game is, or a rivalry game is, from everything else on the schedule?
Well, I've heard people say that it's just another game. When I hear rivalry games, we don't take that approach at all. And I learned that here at Ohio State, and I took that really with me on our journey, and that was at Bowling Green against Toledo. I think it's great for, when you ask a player to come play for your school, or even a coach. I have Chris Ash and I have Larry Johnson. This is not another game. This is, you go back and go to have a little chat with Earl Bruce for 6 or 7 minutes, and this game's going to come up, and that's the way I was. That's just the way that it is here, and that's the way it should be. So we just make a huge deal out of rivalry games. I think our players, I want them to take ownership in the program, part ownership in the program. This is not another game. This is the game, and so it is different around here. I want to have some fun with it, but I also want the players to. When you say have fun, I'm not sure how to have fun. It's how to have fun is to sing a fight song in the locker room after a win against your rival. That's how you have fun. Everything leads up to that fun. And so I know I'm kind of going on and on, but it's a huge deal here, and it's something that was. It's always been a huge. As long as I can remember, this game is the game, and the comment might be a little bit embellished about you can lose them all, just win this one. I'm not sure I buy that one. But this is, and our players know it. And the other thing we do, we like to educate our players on the rivalry and the gold pants. And so every day we're going to have as we have in the past, every day a nugget about the rivalry and just educate our players. Obviously in the preseason camp, we always do something about this game. And I'll pick a couple days throughout the year in February and March and April where it'll be this day. And throughout the whole, and the good thing is there's some great documentaries out there about the HBO special, and then our video guy's outstanding. Dave always puts together some great stuff about the rivalry.
And one more thing, Michigan hasn't had the kind of year that they would have hoped. There's a lot of questions circulating up there. What do you anticipate you'll get from
their best game like they did? They're great players there.
And when the situation is where there's coach in a hot seat, do you anticipate that the players play differently? Do they approach it in any different way? To play for the guy who brought him in?
No, I guess I haven't thought about it, but I coached for a man who lost his job on a Monday. Not that has anything to do with this, but no, we're anticipating. I met with the defensive staff this morning, and we'll get the best. Their personnel will play their very best against us, and that happened. That was as obvious as you can be last year.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, we know you understand this rivalry. How much in your other coaching stops, especially maybe at Utah or at Florida, did you take this rivalry with you there? Because we know you're so successful in rivalry games, but I heard Dan Mullen the other day talking about the Ole Miss game. He called them the team up north. Have you sprinkled the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry around?
Well, I learned it here, and so you go to Bowling Green, and it's certainly we didn't invent that rivalry. That's always been a nasty. The teams are only 20-some miles apart. Bowling Green, Toledo, and then we go to Utah, and once again, we didn't invent the rivalry. We maybe put a lot of emphasis on it, called in the team down south, and had some success out there with it. Then we go to Florida. Interesting, in Florida, you have 3 of them. You have Tennessee early in the year. You have, Georgia, and then you have the team out west. So, and some people say, that we're going to have fun with it. I told you, there's no fun in a rivalry unless you're singing the fight song after the game. That's the fun that you have in it. So, to answer your question, yeah, I think that is kind of neat. Dan and I talk about that, and I think that's great.
And through your time here, there's been a lot of talk with leadership and that kind of thing. Now that you're here with this senior class, what have you thought how this senior group, especially the captains and leaders on this team, have filled their roles through your time here, and especially
Great
this
question. Blown away with our first year. I didn't see that coming. Maybe the best group of leaders I've ever been around, the 2012 team, when everything was ripped away from them and they still did what they did. That's why there's stuff around this facility still about honoring those players, and when they come back here, they're treated like royalty, like they should, because they did. They made a decision. They didn't have to do that. Those last years, I think, was pretty good. When Christian Bryant went down, that was a sucker punch that we needed him in certain areas on our defense, and we didn't have him anymore, and that's how valuable a player he was. And this year, still to be determined. Right now, I'd grade Mike Bennett he's okay, and then for some reason the last month he's been outstanding. Jeff Harmon's good, but this book's not written yet, so I'm pleased with it. But these next couple are that's gonna be their legacy.
Front row, Todd.
Urban,
Our legacy, I should say.
coaches want their teams to start peaking at this time of year, start playing their best football. You guys probably did that in East Lansing and Minnesota, and then I don't know if you would say that you did that last week. How do you recapture sort of that playing on that uptick that you guys had?
I agree with that. There's a multitude of reasons, but I agree with that 100%. That if JT hits a couple of those passes, we don't turn it, coulda, woulda, shoulda. There were some excellent performances in that game. You still had 530 or 40 yards offense, and you missed a bunch of receivers wide open. You had 3 turnovers that kind of put us in a bad deal, and then you had 2 run-fit miscues on defense. So, but the facts are facts. It is very important to be hitting your stride. I would say the only thing I'd say is I wouldn't say we're not hitting our stride. There's some things to clean up, but if you evaluate our team compared to week 1, it's still the most improved team. They're playing at a high level. Just got to take care of the ball.
The evolution of your H-back position.
Yep.
I think we saw some wildcat. I don't think we saw that last week.
No.
Are you guys pulling that back, or is that something that's still?
No, you're just getting a wear and tear on Jalen right now. It's easier when you have, our feeling about receivers on to play 30, 40 plays a game, not 60. And then he's also a special teams guy, so I'm just being very cautious of that. Evan Spencer's going to have to help us at H. The JC, Corey Smith has helped us as well. And then you notice we're a little bit more 12 than we've been, and that's 1 back, 2 tight ends with Nick Vanette, and he's playing really well. So he's a guy that we keep trying to force ourselves to get him in the game. So the H-back has evolved the way we want it. It's just now you just wish you had the other guy still.
Front row, Bill.
Urban, I can't say I know your musical taste that well, but I guess LL Cool J is on nonstop.
LL Cool J.
This is War.
It's Time for War.
Time for War.
I just know the song's name. He's really good at it. I don't know. It's a good song.
Could you give background on how that came to be played?
I have no idea. I think our video guy put it in a video, and
It's not your thing?
I don't think it was I don't know. It's not on my iPod or iPad or something.
But just, how different is everything this week?
Oh, I hear the players' comments, and I think it is a lot different. If it's not, then we're not doing a good job. Coach Mick does a great job. Dave, I have a bunch of people in this facility that it is different. There'll be things every day added to the facility to make, and you walk in a weight room, it's completely different. Everything, And it's always been that way. You know, I remember that 1986, my first year here, and driving into work and seeing those there were sheets hanging outside the dorm. Muck fishing. You want to say? Sure, I say that right? Muck Fishigan. And I thought that is so. You know, that was really neat. And then they flipped the M and the F on Friday when I drove. I didn't stay up very long, but I did. I saw it.
Obviously, Michigan has struggled this year. Does it matter at all that they are having their issues?
No, because you watch videotape and the talent's not. You know, they're gonna give us everything they got, and what they got is a lot. So no, there's in these players, motivation won't be an issue. Expectation of facing a very talented team. We're facing a top 10 defense in the country, and I just, you know, for the 2 days now we've been pounding watching it. They're really good. Really good, so no, there's no issue. Very good, athletic and talented on special teams, too.
Far right, Austin.
Irvin, last year wasn't the first time there were punches thrown in this game. That probably won't be the last. But
I had a talk with our team about that, and that's absolutely no case for that. Intensity, absolutely a certain mentality when you take this field, but that's not acceptable.
If the fact that you have an additional game, and they have maybe nothing to lose, is that something that you could factor in? You have to be careful with what you do because your season doesn't end on Saturday.
That's a good question, and I probably will discuss that. I did that didn't come up. Just that I'll be, you know, we're not. That's not the way we play the game, and I think a lot of lessons were learned. We went without one of our key linemen in the championship game the following week, and we played a game without 2 or 3 good players. So that's not the. And that was a very strong conversation yesterday in the team meeting.
Front row, Tim.
Yeah, Irvin, 2 things. Number 1, Jalen Marshall, the emergence at the hybrid back. Did that offense at times Saturday look sort of like what you envisioned with a hybrid back in it? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm not.
This whole year has Tim. This whole year has Tim. Maybe it's starting to. Yeah, but we didn't have that luxury the first 2 years. You know, Philly Brown was close, but he wasn't quite. And if you remember, I just got done watching the game last year against them, and he was active in the run game, Philly, but not like these guys are. These guys are kind of built the way we want them, and so to answer your question, yes.
The other thing, like I also was just asking though, how tough of a predicament is it to be playing a game for a championship next week, but you've got this the rivalry that. You understand what I mean? What kind of pickle does that put y'all in from a?
It's real. It's real. We when I was at Florida, we had to deal with that the FSU game each. I mean, that's real. But it's also embrace it, take advantage of it, love every moment of it. But there's only one way to enjoy every moment. That's seeing the fights on in the locker room after the game. So that's real what you just said. But there's no conversation about, hey, let's hold this back, let's hold it, you know, go win this game.
Far right, Clay.
Back at Ashtabula, what were your childhood memories of this game? And as you went through high school, did you think you were going to get a look from this place?
Of course I did. My mom told me I was a great player. Things didn't work out. Kept waiting for that letter, never happened.
Nobody called you?
No. But that's another story, I guess. I do remember one time when I was real young that I couldn't understand it, but my mother grabbed me and said, we got to go run an errand or something. I looked like she was out of her mind. And we went to some outdoor area. It was an outdoor like mall, and they're playing the game over the loudspeakers. Man, I'll never forget that as long as I live. I'm just listening to the game. It was Pete Johnson, Archie Griffin, and the boys, and so that's obviously I remember every game. I remember even I told someone the story on Sunday. Mike Turgovac is a great friend of mine, and we were both coaching at Colorado State together, and we went and played Hawaii, and we both got up at like 5 a.m. to watch, and we always had a little wager on it. And obviously he was a great player at the team up north, and I was pulling for the Buckeyes. So.
And last question, Rob, second row middle.
Urban, you've got a song playing 24/7. You're doing other little motivational things. Is there a balance? Is there any concern of overdoing it, a tipping point on getting the guys too hyped up or too pumped up? And have you learned through the years?
I don't think that hypes them up. I think it's just a remembrance of what we're doing to have a good practice. You know, I think we try to compartmentalize we're not trying to go play the game tomorrow. We're trying to have a good Tuesday practice, trying to have a good Monday where guys come in. It's their off day, but they come in and get treatments, take care of themselves, and just constant reminders of what the game is. I think the older players know and appreciate it. I think the young players are getting a little dose of it now. It is a different week. That's all it is. We're not trying to motivate them to play the game on a Tuesday. It's just and we'll talk to them about it. I don't want to devalue your question, but we'll have conversation. Let's take care of the moment, and the moment is to somehow win a Tuesday, and then get to Wednesday.
You followed this from afar, this rivalry. How tough was the '90s for you when they were struggling?
Oh, it's not from as a fan and as someone who's following the Buckeyes. It was, you just would always pull for them because I knew they had great players, and that was two good teams going at it all the time, though.
Coach, can I ask a quick question about the middle linebacker? You don't see a lot of teams rotate at middle linebacker. You obviously feel that's the best approach for you guys. Why is that the best approach for you guys?
Two good players, one great leader that's really improved his play, Curtis Grant, and then another guy that's obviously, he played like 30. You're right, I think it was 34 and 30. The amount of plays that each one of them played, and I don't micromanage those positions. I do push when I think guys should play, and obviously Raekwon is getting better and better.
Have you ever had a team that did that before? Rotated it at the Mike linebacker spot?
Mike linebacker? I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't think so. Not the Mike.
Urban, is everybody healthy?
Everybody is healthy. Yeah, everyone's healthy.
Anything new on Noah?
Thank you, Coach.